Hello. So today we're going to be reading one of my favorite books. It's called Lailah's Lunchbox. This book is meant for grades 3 through 6. It has a guided reading level of a level N. And the genre is obviously children's literature, and it is a holiday fiction book. So, looking at just the cover, we see a lunchbox. So, we can probably assume that this book has something to do with a lunchbox, maybe food, or we bring lunchboxes to school, or to work, or to wherever. So, maybe bringing a lunch somewhere with us. So, this is down here, it says it's a Ramadan story, and this is by Reem Farouki, illustrated by Leah Lyon. If anybody doesn't know what Ramadan is, this is a Muslim holiday. It's a month that is observed by Muslims where they fast, which means they don't eat, or they eat very certain things, but they are very limited to what they can eat. They and and they go a certain amount of time without eating anything. But they pray, they reflect, they're involved in their community. So we're going to take a quick picture walk through this book, just to see if we can kind of get an idea about what it's going to be about. So we already know that has something to do with a lunchbox. Layla must be the main character, and it's a Muslim story. It's about Ramadan, and kind of probably learning about that holiday. That looks like that might be her mom. Here you kind of see two maps. One that has a label Peachtree City, which looks like it's somewhere in the United States. And then over here you have Abu Dhabi, which is somewhere over here across overseas. So probably in the country that she comes from, what I would assume. Here it looks like she's eating dinner or lunch or something, a big feast of some sort with maybe her family. It looks like she's on her way to school, laughing, maybe with her friends, happy. Here's on the school bus. I think this is her, maybe looking not so happy. Sure. Okay, then you see her here, maybe in school, in the cafeteria. Again, looking a little sad. Everybody has lunch boxes, but it looks like she doesn't. Maybe she's sitting with a friend, eating a snack or a cake, or it looks like her friend is, and maybe she's not allowed to. Like she's in the library. She looks happy here. Again, happy, still in the library. So that might be the library teacher or her teacher. Looks like she's writing. Looks like she wrote a letter. It looks like she's in class, maybe in front of her teacher's in front of the class, maybe speaking to the whole class. And it looks like that's her right there sitting. This looks like Layla's giving her teacher a note, possibly the note she wrote in the library. And that's the author's note, which we'll read at the end. All right, so now that we've done kind of a picture walk, let's go ahead and we will read Lailah's Lunchbox. We won't be needing this for a while, said Lailah's mother, hanging up Lailah's lunchbox. Imagine, I won't be eating lunch for a month, replied Lailah with a twirl. I won't have to pack a lunch for a month, said her mom with a bigger twirl. The year before, Layla had wanted to fast with her best friends, Hind and Ishrat, during Ramadan, but Layla's mom had insisted she was too small. Remembering that Layla stopped twirling, she missed her friends. So as she remembered that, she stopped being happy. She stopped twirling and dancing. Moving from one continent to another had been hard. On the map in her atlas, North America and the Middle East were 10 inches apart. But in real life, she was so much further away. She wished she was only 10 inches away from Hin and Ishrat. She knew the sign by the highway said Peachtree City. You'll love to call it home. But she didn't agree with the sign. Abu Abu Dhabi still felt like her home. So think to yourself, how does she feel about Peachtree? I'm thinking she's not liking it. She's a little homesick, is what it sounds like. There's that picture again. The next morning before sunrise, Layla's mom gently nudged her. Layla, she whispered, "Surrey time." Layla chomped on her chocolate chip pancakes with her eyes closed. Delicious, she said. Come, let's pray now, said her mom. After Siri, Layla snuggled back into her bed until her mom woke her up again, this time for school. As she left the house, her mom handed her a note. Layla, please give this note to Mrs. Penworth. Without her lunchbox to carry, her fingers felt extra free and swingy. She felt so light she skipped to the school bus stop. On the school bus, she read her mom's note. Dear Mrs. Penworth, this will be Layla's first time fasting for the month of Ramadan, so it is an exciting time for us. Please excuse Layla from lunch for this special month. Thanks, Mrs. Malik. Layla didn't feel so bouncy anymore. What if Mrs. Penworth didn't know about Ramadan? No one else would be fasting with her. She folded the note into a teeny tiny square and hid it in her book bag. So think about, why did her feelings change so much or so drastically in that very short time? Because remember, just before we read this page, she was skipping and twirling on her way to the bus stop. And as soon as she read that note that her mom wrote, she was very sad and nervous, it seems. Layla walked slowly to her class. Her throat felt dry all morning. When lunchtime arrived, she still hadn't given Mrs. Penworth her note. Layla, did you forget your lunch? Asked Mrs. Penworth. Layla opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Samantha volunteered. I'll share my lunch with Layla. Mrs. Penworth shook her head. Thank you for the offer, Samantha, but Layla, please get a sandwich from the cafeteria. Why do you think she didn't give her teacher the note that her mom wrote? Layla followed her classmates to the cafeteria. Layla, do you want some of my cream roll? Asked Anna. Layla thought of telling Anna that she was fasting, but she didn't think anyone at Sunnyvale Elementary School knew about Ramadan. No thanks, she started to say. I didn't bring my... Are you sure? Asked Anna, unwrapping the cream rolls. Layla watched the cream roll get smaller and smaller, and she didn't feel so sure. Cream rolls were her favorite. She looked away. Her nose still smelled food. Layla wished she had given Mrs. Penworth the note. Even Isaiah's bologna sandwich looked tasty, and Layla didn't even like bologna. Her stomach rumbled. Suddenly, she had an idea. While everyone was busy eating, she sneaked out of the cafeteria. Her stomach stopped growling. Think about how she may feel right now sitting in that cafeteria while everybody's eating and she's not, and her stomach's rumbling. Why, Layla, it's a pleasure to see you. But what brings you here at lunchtime? Asked Mrs. Carmen, the librarian. Layla felt safe among all the books. She opened her mouth, and this time her words tumbled out. Layla told Mrs. Carmen that Mrs. Penworth and her classmates didn't know she was fasting. She told her how she missed Hen and Ishrat. It felt good to tell someone all the words that had been inside her mind all morning, and especially to tell her about Ramadan. Mrs. Carmen understood. You must feel special to fast this Ramadan, said the librarian with a smile. I do, said Layla. But why is it so hard to explain? You know, what I always do when I can't get my thoughts out or when I get shy about talking?" asked Mrs. Carmen. "I write my thoughts down." Layla got to work. She wrote neatly, adding extra loops to her capital L. She worked so hard her cheeks turned pink. "Dear Mrs. Penworth, I didn't forget my lunchbox today. It's Ramadan. My mom finally let me fast. This means I won't be eating lunch for a month. Sincerely, Layla. P.S. I'm Muslim. P.P.S. My mom wrote you a note too. Here it is. P.P.P.S. Here's a poem I wrote about Ramadan. Ramadan is a month Muslims celebrate, a time to count our blessings and appreciate. Muslims fast before sunrise to sunset. But wait, that's not all just yet. Ramadan is a time for lots of prayer. We help the poor people to show we care. So in the day, I won't be eating any food, but hopefully will stay in a good mood. Layla hurried back to the cafeteria to join her class. Before school was out, she quietly dropped both notes onto Mrs. Penworth's desk. The next morning, Layla swung her fingers as she waited for the school bus. Would Mrs. Penworth like her poem? Layla hoped Penworth wouldn't think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. She slowly climbed each step on the school bus. In class, Mrs. Penworth didn't say anything, so Layla wondered what had happened. At times like this, she wished Hen and Ishrat were there with her. They would know what to say. Definitely a little homesick and missing her friends. At lunchtime, Layla's feet felt heavy. She was sure Mrs. Penworth hadn't seen the notes. Everyone would think she'd forgotten her lunchbox again. As she was leaving class, Mrs. Penworth patted Layla on the back and handed her a message. Mrs. Penworth had made her capital L in Layla's name extra loopy. "Dear Layla, I enjoyed your lovely poem about Ramadan. I'm impressed you're fasting. What a special time for you. You and your family must be thrilled. Would you share your poem with the class today after lunch? You could go to the library this month instead of the cafeteria. Mrs. Carmen is excited to see you. Sincerely, Mrs. Penworth. P.S. Mrs. Carmen told me you missed your friends. I hope you keep making new friends with our class." Layla twirled all the way to the library. She couldn't wait to share her Ramadan poem with her class. Later, at iftar, she would celebrate this day. And that's the end. This is the author's note. I'll read it really quickly because it's kind of cool to kind of get their perspective from when they were writing this book. So, as a child, I remember growing up in Abu Dhabi wishing I could fast with my best friends, Hind and Ishrat, but my mother thought I was too small to fast. When I finally was allowed to fast, I missed their company. Like Layla, my family moved to Peachtree City, Georgia, all the way from Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. During Ramadan, I found it challenging to explain my non-Muslim friends why I was not eating lunch with them. The library became my safe place away from all the fragrant food smells, and I spent many hours there enjoying good books. I hope we all have the courage, like Layla, to explain and celebrate our beliefs. Contrary to what some may think, Ramadan is not all about food. It's about growing up and finally being able to fast. It's about cherishing the family with whom you sit down every evening at sunset to open your fast. It's about praying with the community and sharing with those in need. It's about inviting friends over for iftar and sending food to your neighbors. Layla's poem is adapted from a note we used to stick on food my mother would send to our neighbors during Ramadan. It's a special month to celebrate, and each year I look forward to it, with or without cream rolls. So that's the end of Layla's Lunchbox. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. And as I send you off today, I kind of want you to think about making a text to self connection. Is there ever a time where you may have been lonely or felt different or out of place? And why did you feel that way? What differences do you have between you and Layla, or what similarities do you have between you and Layla? So try to make some text to self connections, and I will see you soon.